Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a beginner's coding tutorial for if-else statements and decision making. The example that I'm using today for an analogy is a morning routine, and yeah, we're gonna get right into the video, so let's get started. Okay everyone, so on one side of my screen I have my C++ code, and on the other side I have my terminal window where I will be showing you everything that gets printed out to the screen. So I'm gonna start running my code and then just talk through how the program works. So, okay, looking at our code now, we have an int variable called wake up time, and this is what we're going to get from the user. So we're going to ask them what time is it when they're waking up. As you can see on the other side of the screen, we see that printed out and it's waiting input from me. So once I give it a time, it'll take in what time I'm waking up right here on line 8. Then we're going to use that time to check it. So we're going to say if we wake up at 10. So if our wake up time is equal to 10, remember that the double equal sign checks for equality. So if this is true, then we're going to do everything that is inside these two curly braces right here. The curly braces lets you know what to perform according to your if statement. So what's inside of your if statement? What are you going to do if your if statement is true? Okay, so if I do that over here and I say it's 10, you can see that we get the wake up and then the rest of our day. So the way an if statement works is if this condition is true, then we're going to perform what's inside of it and we're going to continue with the rest of our code. But let's say that the if statement is false. So on the other hand side of the screen, I ask what time is it? Let's say it's 7 a.m. Then you can see that we don't get this see out wake up statement. And obviously you would have to wake up to make breakfast and get dressed for the day, but it's just an example to show you that if this statement is not true, then we skip over what's inside of these curly braces. Okay, so that pretty much explains the singular if statement. If you only have one if statement and you're checking to see if one condition is true, if it is true, you do what's inside of it. If it's not true, you keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the if-else statement, and now we have new code here, and you can see that it's pretty much almost all the same, but now we have this statement that says if our wake up time is less than 10, so let's say it's 7 a.m., 5 a.m., it could be any of those, then we're going to tell the user to sleep longer. But if it's not less than 10, then we're going to tell them to wake up and turn off their alarm clock. So this else statement takes care of if this if statement is not true, and it gives it some other code that you can execute rather than just continuing on with the rest of your code that is below the if statement. So let's see this in action on the other side of the screen. So if it is 10 a.m., then we're going to wake up and turn off our alarm clock, make breakfast, and get dressed for the day, which matches up right here. We know that we went through the else statement because 10 is not less than 10, it's equal to 10. So we don't actually see the sleep longer. So you can see that if this is not true, we're going to perform the else statement. But let's say that it is 5 a.m. Then we're going to sleep longer and we're going to skip the else statement. But eventually, we somehow wake up and we get dressed and make breakfast. Okay, so now this shows you how to use an if-else statement. It's pretty much the same as an if without an else, but it's more explicit and it allows you to have a certain piece of code run when your if condition is not true. Okay, so now I have some new code on one side of the screen, and this is for the if-else if statements. And yeah, we're going to walk through it right now. So you use an if-else if statement because, like we saw in our other code over here, this else statement is connected to this if statement. So this will only run if this is false. But let's say if we had another if statement up here. Okay, so this if statement is completely different, completely isolated from this else statement. But let's say we wanted to check our wake up time, and we wanted to say that we wake up at noon, and we wanted to say that we tell them to wake up at noon, right here. Well, it will do that. It'll tell our user to wake up at 12, but it will also go into this if statement right here, where it will say if wake up time is less than 10 a.m., which it's not, it's noon. So it's going to perform this else statement, which is going to tell them to wake up and turn off their alarm clock. But we already told them to wake up here, so we don't want this to run. But because this else statement doesn't know anything about that former if statement, because all it knows is its if statement that it's connected to, it will still run even though we've already performed an if statement up here. So a way to solve that is the else if statement. So over here you can see that we have our regular, what time is it? We'll let you know what time it is. And then here, if we want to check multiple things, we can say if our wake up time is 7, we'll tell them to sleep in. Else if our wake up time is 8, we can tell them to sleep longer. Else if our wake up time is 9, we'll tell them to sleep for a few more hours. Otherwise, we're going to tell them to wake up. So do you see how we can check multiple conditions and only have one else statement run if none of these are true? But let's say one of them is true, then this else statement will not run. So let's try this one out. So we get what time is it, and let's say that it's 12, let's say it's noon, then we're going to be told to wake up and perform the rest of our day. You can't really see it because I'm blocking it, but we wake up and make breakfast and you get dressed for the day. But let's say that it is 7 a.m. Then we sleep in, we skip this wake up statement, but we still continue to make breakfast and get dressed for the rest of our day. So the if, else if statement is perfect if you want to check multiple things and only have this bottom if statement actually run if the rest of these are false. So it's kind of like a good default catch, like I said, if you want to check multiple things. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing the code actually come to life on the terminal side of the screen. Go check out my pseudocode video to kind of figure out how to get your thoughts onto paper before you actually start coding. And I will have the Geeks for Geeks if-else statements decision-making article linked down below so you can read up a little bit more about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next coding tutorial. Bye guys.